In the summertime, there's not a whole lot better than a nice ripe sliced tomato to put on the dinner table. But if you ever have more tomatoes than you know what to do with, or maybe your tomatoes don't look the best and you don't want to slice them up, have you ever thought about trying to do something different, like making pasta sauce or salsa? If you have, and you're like us and you like to have those things ready to eat all year long, then this is the perfect video for you. So stick around and we'll show you how we can put that in the pantry. Okay, so as you can see, we've got tomatoes put here in this inner part that goes in the pot, and you're going to drop them down in, and you're just going to scald them. You can see it's really boiling hot water. Get a lid on it for about 3 minutes until they split, and when they split, you pull them out and then put them in cold water so that you're able to handle them. You can get the cores out of them and peel the skin right off the outside, and then drop them back down into another pan here. And we're going to do several turns of these to get ready to can enough pints that it makes it worth doing all at once. So as you can see, again, just getting the core out of the center there, peel the skin right off. If you got any more to cut off the bottom or anything like that, cut them in half, drop them down in. And then while we're doing that, we're back over to the stove. We got these going, and again, we're just waiting to see when they start to split. Now, if you look at the tomatoes that we're actually working with, these are good tomatoes. They're already splitting here on part of them, but you'll see when we open that pot back up, you'll see new splits taking place. And these tomatoes are great for things like this, not necessarily to have pretty tomatoes to put on your plate for slicing up, but for what we want to do, making pasta and salsa, they're just about perfect. So, kind of back and forth, and this process will take a little while to get through everything that we need. Just keep checking them. You don't want them to go to mush, but once they start splitting, drop them back over in that cold water. All right, so as you can see, you're starting to get some splits in there, so just pull this inner part out, and we're keeping it from dripping, just setting it on a plate. Bring it right back over, dumping it in that cold water, and again, start coring and peeling the skins off of these. And while that's going on, we're right back over, putting the rest of the tomatoes in here. And then if you come back, you can see that we've already got some ready to go, and we'll pick back up once we get that full and show you what we do next. So the tomatoes we had in the food processor, you just pulse it. And then we're going to dump them into a measuring cup here just to see exactly what we're getting so that we know how many we need each time to get the right amount put into the pot over here.
12 cups.
No science to it. You're just getting them processed. We're looking for 12 cups total. And the whole time you got several things going on at once. So we are processing, we're coring and skinning, and we are still scalding tomatoes. And as you can see, that one right there, it's already getting a split in it. So I got to go to work. We'll be back in a little bit. Okay, so we're actually going to do a double batch here in this pot. So we've got 24 cups of tomatoes that have been done in the food processor. Again, we scalded them, took the cores and the skins off of them, and then for For a double batch, we're putting 2 cans of the tomato paste, and that's just the 6-ounce cans there. And then again, for a double batch, we're putting in 1/3 of a cup. Oh, I'm sorry, 3/4 of a cup of sugar. And that's just to kind of take the tanginess out of the tomato sauce or the tomatoes. And then we're putting 2 packs of pasta sauce in. Again, this is a double batch, so that's why we're putting in 2 of all this. Once you get everything in, mix it together, bring it to a boil. And once you get it to a boil, you're going to turn it down and simmer it for about 25 minutes. This is very easy, as long as you've got your wife and your mother-in-law who are helping you. But all the instructions are on the back of the packet. So, again, no science to it. Dirty, but simple. All right, as you can see here, we are not using the food processor for this batch. That's because we're doing salsa on this next turn. So you just kind of cut them up into the size chunks you want. Again, you're scalding, you're peeling, you're coring, everything else is the same up to this point, but instead of dumping them in the food processor, you're just cutting them up into the size chunks you want. And again, this is all personal preference. However you like your salsa. Again, when we get later on as we're finishing this up, some people like it hot, like me. Some people do not. So you play around with it and figure out how much of everything you want to put into it to get it to what you like. All right, so now you can see we've got our salsa mixture on the stove, and we're starting to bring it up to a boil. The pasta sauce is cooking. We're still stirring that occasionally to make sure it doesn't stick. Again, once you bring the pasta up, and all the instructions are on the back of the Mrs. Wage's sauce mix bag, but you bring the pasta sauce up to a boil and you cook it on a simmer, just a low simmer for 25 minutes. The salsa is much easier. We bring it up, and once it starts cooking, you reduce the heat and you kind of cook it for only 10 minutes. And then once you get to that point on both of these, we'll put them in the cans and show you how you give them a hot water bath and ready to put them in your pantry. So the salsa has cooked long enough, and we're ready to can it. We're putting ours in pint jars. You can put it in whatever you want, but we put them in pint jars. Fill it up to where there's just a little bit of space left at the top of the jar. And then you'll get your centers and rings on. See that happening here. So just clean the lip of it off to make sure you get a good tight seal on there. And then drop it into the pot here where we're going to give it a hot water bath. And once we get everything ready for that, we'll show you what we do. But you're going to just bring it to a rolling boil. Keep your water at least an inch over the top of the jars and boil it for 45 minutes. And that's all it takes to get these to seal up. And that's the same for the pasta sauce, which is just about ready to go too. So we'll get everything on here all at once. All right, we've got our canner full. Once you get that ready, make sure you get that water up over the tops. Leave about an inch of water over top of your jars. And then we're going to put this in a pressure canner actually. But you don't have to do this because you're not actually canning the way you would, say, green beans or anything like that. You're just going to get your temperature up and bring that water to a good rolling boil, and then hold that boil for 40 minutes. And then once you get that done, you're ready to let them cool off and put them in the pantry. Okay, just a quick recap. So you scald your tomatoes, core them, peel them, either put them in the food processor and get them down to the consistency you want, or just cut them up into chunks. Put all of your mixes in, your seasonings, spice them up however you want. Cook everything down. Again, the pasta sauce, we cooked it for about 25 minutes. The salsa not near as long, only about 10 minutes for that. Once you get everything ready, put them in your jars. and then a hot water bath for 40 minutes. After you take them out of the hot water bath, just set them on the side, put them on a towel, set them somewhere where they can cool, put a towel over top of them, and you'll hear the centers pop to let you know they're sealed. And then whenever they're cool, you can put them in the pantry. So we did about a half a bushel of tomatoes. We got 8 pints of salsa and 13 pints of pasta sauce. So a little bit of time and effort on the front end, and you can reap the benefits moving forward for a long time. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, just another common man answering some very common questions.
Here gone.